Hi, this is Political News in 5, and today's August 14th, 2022. I'm Aisha, sorry. And I'm starting this episode with Wike and the PDP. Now, last week we heard that Wike had filed a lawsuit challenging the June PDP presidential primaries and asking that he be declared the winner. Now, Wike has since come out to deny being part of that lawsuit and says that it is the work of mischief makers, maybe even within his own party. But the papers for the lawsuit show that there's a second plaintiff, a new agent, Ekamon, who allegedly is a coordinator for the campaign of another presidential as candidate for another party whose acronym rhymes with the first three letters of the alphabet. I'm sure you can guess which party that is. Now, the lawsuit was filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja. It has not been assigned a judge. One would hope that once a judge is assigned, that judge will dismiss this case immediately for lack of locus standi, since Wike is not going to be part of the lawsuit. And second, because the time frame within which INEC has given parties to be able to file these types of lawsuits has since passed. Now, one can only hope that, knowing our judiciary, that is what is going to happen. In the meantime, Wike is definitely giving his party sleepless nights, whether or not he's behind this lawsuit. Over the last couple of weeks, he has received a lot of high-profile APC officials to Rivers State, where he's the governor, including the current governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. So let's continue watching this space. The reason why Wike is so powerful right now is because he has in his camp the PDP camp. The PDP has 12 states, and right now it looks like Wike controls about 6 of these states, including his own state. The other states are Abia, Adamawa, Benue, Enugu, and Oyo State, because these are the governors that are in his camp. Speaking of states, last week I also heard that Budget, an organization that sort of focuses on budgets of states, federal, and other agencies, said that they had done a national survey of salaries and found out that 13 states are owing salaries for civil servants from anything from 1 month plus to 6 months and over. Now, out of these 13, 8 are owing salaries from 6 months and above. Now, Edo State, which is just this list of 13, has come out to say that they shouldn't be on that list and demanded an apology from Budget. But that aside, looking at that list of 13, you find that 6 of the current governors of those states are finishing their second term and now have tickets to go to the Senate. And you have to ask, why would the citizens or the people that live in this state want these men to be there to go and represent them in the Senate? Why would the parties want that too? In the case of Ayade of Cross River and Darius Ishaku of Taraba, we find that, in fact, when they did the primaries, they were the sole candidates, meaning that they were so beloved by their party that nobody else was contesting that seat with them. I mean, how can that be? This stretches our credibility, honestly. More egregious was the fact that Delta is on this list as well. Delta is the richest state when it comes to federal revenue allocation. Over the last 3 years, they've gotten over 700 billion in federal allocation. So how can they be owing salaries? This is something that Okowa, who is vice president to Atiku on the ticket, the PDP ticket, needs to be called to task. He needs to explain himself. He needs to also, with his principal, explain how, when they're in power, they will be able to ensure that states are more economically viable and better managed. Speaking of governance, the last thing I want to talk about on Political News in 5 today is the federal government negotiations with kidnappers. Now, last week I heard news that honestly surprised me. One, because I thought my expectations for the Buhari regime were so low, but it seemed that I still had some residual hope that they would not be as ineffectual as they seem to be. Now, Bulama Bukarti, a social critic and human rights lawyer, shared on social media the content of an interview that Garba Shehu, one of the spokespersons for General Buhari, was sharing with BBC Hausa about what the federal government was doing to try and get the hostages of the Abuja-Kaduna train hijack released. Now, according to him, there had been several requests by the terrorists which the government had acceded to, including releasing a pregnant wife of one of the terrorists, in fact, paying for her to have a safe delivery of twins, getting them home. And they kept asking for more and more, and the federal government never got anything in return, did not get to even release one hostage. And you have to ask, how naive or stupid were the people who were part of this negotiation on the government side? How stupid could they be to allow that to happen, to allow the terrorists to keep tricking them over and over again? This is just one example of how important it is to have the right people elected and appointed into government. There's real life consequences to having these types of people who don't have a clue and don't have a care in charge of us. In fact, it should be our mantra between now and maybe the next 10 years of elections. Never again for the APC and anybody associated with them. That's it for me this week. Just one final appeal. If you haven't gotten your PVC and you're registered, please go and get it. The news is that we have at least 41% of new registrants collecting their PVCs, which is great, but it's still less than half. The data also shows that 23% get their PVCs at the first attempt. Means you might need to go more than once to get your PVC. So please get going so that you can vote in the February 2023 elections. That's it for me this week. Have a good week ahead. Take care. Bye.